In the quaint village of Riverdale, nestled along the banks of a mysterious river, life flowed as steadily as the waters beside it. For generations, the villagers had passed down tales of an evil mermaid who dwelled in the depths, warning their sons and daughters to stay far from the riverbank. The village elders, with their weathered faces and voices gravelly from years of storytelling, would gather the young ones around crackling fires to recount the legend. "Listen well, children," Old Man Tom would begin, his eyes glinting in the firelight. "The river may look peaceful, but beneath its surface lurks a danger greater than any you've known. A golden mermaid, beautiful beyond measure, but with a heart as cold as the deepest waters. Many a brave man has ventured to those banks, drawn by curiosity or the lure of easy fishing. Not one has ever returned." The children would huddle closer, both terrified and enthralled. "But why, Old Man Tom?" little Sarah would inevitably ask, her eyes wide with wonder. "Ah, child," Tom would reply, leaning in conspiratorially. "The mermaid is lonely, you see. She seeks a companion, a husband from our world, but her love is possessive and cruel. Once she has you in her grasp, she'll never let you go." And so, the legend grew, passed from generation to generation. The villagers learned to fear the river, to avert their eyes when passing its banks, to whisper prayers of protection when the mists rose from its surface on cool mornings. But legends, no matter how fearsome, cannot deter every heart. And in Riverdale, there lived a man named Jack, a fisherman by trade and a skeptic by nature. Jack had never put much stock in old wives' tales and ghost stories. He was a practical man, concerned with the day-to-day struggles of putting food on the table and coin in his pocket. As the sun rose on a crisp autumn morning, Jack prepared for another day of work. He gathered his nets and bait, checking each item with the careful eye of a man who knew his livelihood depended on his tools. His wife, Mary, watched from the doorway of their small cottage, worry etched across her face. "Must you go to the river again, Jack?" she asked, wringing her apron in her hands. "Surely there are other places to fish, safer places." Jack turned to her with a gentle smile. "Now, Mary, you know as well as I do that the best catches come from that river, and in all my years of fishing there, have I ever come to harm?" Mary shook her head, but her frown remained. "No, but that doesn't mean—" "It doesn't mean anything," Jack interrupted kindly, "except that I know what I'm doing. Don't fret, love. I'll be back before sundown with enough fish to see us through the week." He kissed her cheek and set off down the well-worn path that led to the river. As he walked, the morning mists parted before him, revealing glimpses of the water ahead. Jack hummed a tune to himself, his mind already on the day's work. The river came into full view, its surface a mirror, reflecting the pale blue sky above. Jack set down his gear and began to prepare his lines. As he worked, he spoke aloud to himself, a habit born of long hours spent alone by the water's edge. "Golden mermaid, they say," he chuckled. "If there's gold in this river, it's in the scales of the fish, not some fairy tale creature." He cast his line with practiced ease, watching it arc through the air before disappearing beneath the surface with barely a ripple. Then he settled in to wait, as patient as only a lifelong fisherman can be. Hours passed, the sun climbing higher in the sky. Jack's catch was good, better than usual, and he found himself in high spirits. As he prepared to cast again, he noticed something odd. The water where his hook had landed began to glow, a soft golden light that grew brighter with each passing moment. "Oh, what in the world?" Jack muttered, squinting against the glare. Suddenly, he felt a tremendous weight on his line. Whatever he had hooked was far larger than any fish he'd ever encountered in these waters. Jack planted his feet firmly and began to reel, his muscles straining with the effort. "Come on, you beast," he grunted. "Let's see what you are." The glow intensified, becoming almost blinding. Jack shielded his eyes with one hand while continuing to reel with the other. There was a great splash, and then, emerging from the golden light, he saw her. A woman. No, not quite a woman. Her upper body was that of a stunningly beautiful maiden, with long golden hair that seemed to shimmer with its own light. But where legs should have been, there was instead a powerful, gleaming fishtail. Jack stumbled backward, his rod clattering to the ground. "Impossible," he whispered. The mermaid's eyes fluttered open, revealing irises as golden as her scales. She looked at Jack, confusion giving way to a slow, enchanting smile. "At last," she said, her voice as melodious as a brook in springtime. "After all these years, a man brave enough to seek me out." Jack shook his head, trying to clear it. This couldn't be real. He must have fallen asleep by the riverside and was now caught in some vivid dream. The mermaid reached out a slender arm, her fingers brushing against Jack's cheek. Her touch was cool and sent a shiver down his spine. "Don't be afraid," she cooed. "I've waited so long for you." Before Jack could react, the mermaid's hand tightened on his arm. With strength that belied her delicate appearance, she pulled him into the water. Jack barely had time to gasp before he was submerged, dragged down into the depths by the golden creature. He struggled, his lungs burning for air, but the mermaid's grip was unbreakable. Just as spots began to dance before his eyes, Jack felt a change in the water around him. They burst through some unseen barrier, and suddenly he could breathe again. Coughing and sputtering, Jack found himself in a vast underwater cavern. Bioluminescent algae covered the walls, casting an ethereal blue glow throughout the space. At the center of the cavern was a raised platform of smooth stone, like some ancient submerged throne. The mermaid released him, gliding gracefully to perch upon the stone. She regarded Jack with a mixture of curiosity and triumph. "Welcome to my kingdom," she said, gesturing around the cavern. "I am Aurelia, and you, brave fisherman, shall be my king." Jack, still trying to catch his breath, stared at her in disbelief. "You're king? I don't understand. I have a home, a wife. I can't stay here." Aurelia's golden eyes flashed dangerously. "You misunderstand, my love. This isn't a request. You're mine now, for all eternity." As the gravity of his situation sank in, Jack felt a wave of despair wash over him. He thought of Mary, waiting for him at home, of the life he'd known in Riverdale. All of it, gone in an instant. "Please," he begged, "let me go. I won't tell anyone about you, I swear it." Aurelia laughed, the sound echoing off the cavern walls. "Oh, Jack, why would you want to leave? I can give you things beyond your wildest dreams. Power, riches, immortality. All you have to do is stay with me." She glided closer, her golden tail swishing hypnotically through the water. Jack found it hard to look away, to remember why he had been so desperate to leave just moments ago. "Think about it," Aurelia whispered, her lips close to his ear. "No more struggling to make ends meet. No more long days of back-breaking work for meager reward. Here, you'll be a king. Jack's resolve wavered. The offer was tempting, more tempting than he cared to admit. A life of luxury and power, free from the daily grind that had worn him down over the years. But then he thought of Mary's smile, of the simple joys they shared, and he knew he could never truly be happy here. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice firm despite his fear, "but I can't stay. My life is up there with my people. Please let me go." Aurelia's beautiful face contorted with rage. "Let you go? Never. You're mine, Jack. And if you won't stay willingly, then I'll make you stay." She raised her arms and the water around them began to swirl. Jack felt himself being lifted, carried by the current towards a small alcove in the cavern wall. Before he could react, he was deposited inside, and a shimmering barrier sprang up, trapping him. "You'll learn to love me," Aurelia said, her voice cold. "In time, you'll forget all about your old life. And then, my dear Jack, you'll truly be mine." As she swam away, leaving Jack alone in his watery prison, he slumped against the wall. How long would it be before someone noticed he was missing? Would anyone even dare to search the river for him? For the first time since he was a child, Jack found himself wishing he had heeded the old legends. As he settled in for what promised to be a long captivity, he could almost hear Old Man Tom's voice. "The mermaid is lonely, you see. She seeks a companion, a husband from our world, but her love is possessive and cruel. Once she has you in her grasp, she'll never let you go." Jack closed his eyes, a single tear mixing with the waters around him. He could only hope that somehow, someway, he would find a way back to the surface, back to Mary, back to the life he now realized he had taken for granted. But as the days turned to weeks, and weeks to months, that hope grew dimmer. Aurelia visited him often, sometimes gentle and cajoling, other times furious at his continued resistance. Jack's world shrank to the confines of his alcove, his thoughts a constant swirl of memories from above and the harsh reality of his underwater prison. Little did he know that far above, on the surface he so longed for, events were unfolding that would soon change everything. Not just for Jack, but for Aurelia, the village of Riverdale, and a young woman whose very existence was about to shake the foundations of two worlds. 17 years passed, the seasons turning in their eternal dance above the surface of the river. In Riverdale, life had moved on, as it always does. The disappearance of Jack the fisherman had become another cautionary tale, whispered around firesides and used to warn children away from the river's edge. But for one woman, time had stood still. Mary, Jack's widow, had never given up hope that her husband might one day return. She had also never revealed the secret she had carried since that fateful day. A secret that grew within her, a last gift from Jack before he vanished. 9 months after Jack's disappearance, Mary gave birth to a daughter. She named the child Lily, for the water lilies that bloomed along the safer parts of the riverbank. As Lily grew, it became clear that she was no ordinary child. Her hair shimmered with a faint golden hue in certain lights, and her eyes sometimes seemed to reflect the depths of the river itself. Mary raised Lily with love, but also with caution. She never told her daughter the full story of her father's disappearance, fearing that the truth might lead Lily to the same fate. Instead, she simply said that Jack had been lost in an accident, letting the girl believe he had drowned in a distant lake rather than in the forbidden river that flowed past their village. On the morning of Lily's 17th birthday, Mary watched her daughter prepare for the day, a mixture of pride and worry etched on her face. "Lily, dear," she called softly. "Come here a moment." Lily turned, her golden-tinged hair catching the morning sunlight. "Yes, Mother." Mary took a deep breath, steeling herself for a conversation she had long dreaded. "There's something I need to tell you about your father." Lily's eyes widened. Her mother rarely spoke of Jack, the pain of his loss still evident after all these years. She sat down beside Mary, taking her hand. "What is it?" "Your father. He didn't die where I told you he did," Mary began, her voice trembling slightly. "The truth is, he disappeared in the river that runs past our village." Lily gasped. "But the river is forbidden. Everyone knows the stories." Mary nodded sadly. "Yes, and your father knew them too. But he was a fisherman, and the most stubborn man I ever knew. He didn't believe in the old tales. He thought they were just superstitions. And he was taken by the mermaid," Lily whispered, her mind racing with the implications. "I don't know for certain," Mary admitted. "No one does. He simply never came home one day. But I've always feared, always wondered." Lily sat in stunned silence for a moment, processing this new information. Then, with a determination that reminded Mary painfully of Jack, she stood. "I have to go to the river," Lily declared. "I have to see for myself." Mary grabbed her arm, panic rising in her chest. "No, Lily, you can't. It's too dangerous. I've already lost your father to that cursed place. I can't lose you too." But Lily gently removed her mother's hand, her eyes filled with a mixture of compassion and resolve. "Mother, I've always felt drawn to the water, even though you tried to keep me away. Now I know why. Please, I need to do this. I'll be careful, I promise." Mary wanted to argue further, to forbid Lily from going anywhere near the river. But she saw in her daughter's face the same stubborn determination that had both attracted and infuriated her and Jack. She knew that trying to stop Lily would only push her to more reckless action. With a heavy heart, Mary nodded. "Very well, but please, be careful, and take this with you." She went to a small chest and withdrew a delicate silver chain with a small, iridescent pearl pendant. "It was your grandmother's. She always said it would protect the wearer from water spirits. I never believed such things, but now, well, it can't hurt." Lily took the necklace, clasping it around her neck. The pearl seemed to glow faintly against her skin. She hugged her mother tightly. "Thank you. I'll be back soon, I promise." As Lily set off down the path to the river, Mary watched from the doorway, her heart heavy with fear and regret. She sent up a silent prayer to whatever powers might be listening. Please keep her safe. Don't let the river take her too. Lily walked with purpose, her steps quick and sure, despite the growing apprehension in her heart. The villagers she passed called out greetings, but their smiles faded to looks of concern as they realized where she was headed. "Lily!" called out her friend Thomas, jogging to catch up with her. "Where are you going? Surely not to the river." Lily slowed her pace but didn't stop. "I have to, Thomas. There are answers I need to find." Thomas grabbed her arm, his face pale with worry. "But the stories, the mermaid, Lily, it's not safe." She turned to face him, her unusual eyes flashing with determination. "I know the risk, Thomas, but I also know that I've been drawn to that river my entire life, even though my mother tried to keep me away. Now I know why. My father disappeared there, Thomas. I need to know what happened to him." Thomas's grip on her arm loosened, his expression softening with understanding and sadness. Your father? I didn't know. The adults never talk about it. No, they don't, Lily agreed. They'd rather pretend it never happened. That the river is just a harmless body of water with some silly legends attached. But I can't ignore it any longer. Thomas looked torn, glancing back towards the safety of the village and then to the path that led to the forbidden river. Finally, he squared his shoulders. Then I'm coming with you. Lily opened her mouth to argue, but Thomas held up a hand to stop her. Don't even try to talk me out of it. If you're determined to do this, you shouldn't go alone. Besides, he added with a weak attempt at a smile, someone needs to be there. To make sure you don't do anything too reckless. Lily hesitated for a moment, then nodded. All right, but promise me you'll be careful. I promise if you do, Thomas replied, his usual good humor returning slightly. Together, they set off down the path, the sounds of the village fading behind them. As they walked, the air grew cooler, and a light mist began to rise from the ground. The trees seemed to close in around them, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. It's eerily beautiful, isn't it? Lily murmured, her eyes taking in the ethereal scene. Thomas shuddered slightly. Beautiful isn't quite the word I'd use. Creepy, maybe. Or terrifying. As they approached the river, the mist thickened, swirling around their ankles. The sound of rushing water grew louder, filling their ears with its constant hypnotic rhythm. Suddenly, the trees parted, revealing the river in all its mysterious glory. The water flowed swift and dark, its surface occasionally broken by swirls and eddies that seemed to move with an unnatural purpose. Lily stepped forward, drawn by an inexplicable force. The pearl at her throat pulsed faintly, warm against her skin. She knelt at the water's edge, her reflection wavering in the dark surface. Lily, be careful, Thomas warned, staying a few steps back. She nodded absently, her focus entirely on the water before her. Slowly, hesitantly, she reached out a hand, her fingers hovering just above the surface. Father, she whispered, if you're here, if you can hear me, please give me a sign. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, just as Lily was about to pull her hand back, the water beneath her fingers began to glow with a soft golden light. Thomas gasped. Lily, get back! But Lily remained where she was, transfixed by the growing radiance. The glow spread, illuminating the river from within. And then, rising from the depths, a figure emerged. It was a woman of otherworldly beauty, her long golden hair floating around her like a halo. Where her legs should have been, a powerful fishtail propelled her through the water. Her eyes, when they fixed on Lily, were the same unusual color as the girl's own. After all these years, the mermaid said, her voice as melodious as a mountain stream, you've finally come. Lily stood, her legs shaking slightly. Who are you? The mermaid smiled, an expression caught between warmth and cunning. I am Aurelia, queen of these waters. And you, my dear, are the child I never thought I'd have. Lily's mind reeled. What do you mean? My father? Your father has been with me these 17 years, Aurelia replied. Though he resists still, he is my king. And you, born of both land and sea, are our princess. Thomas, who had been frozen in shock, suddenly sprang into action. He grabbed Lily's arm, trying to pull her away from the water's edge. Don't listen to her, Lily. It's a trick, Aurelia's beautiful face contorted with anger. "Silence, human!" She raised a hand, and a jet of water shot from the river, knocking Thomas off his feet. "Thomas!" Lily cried, torn between helping her friend and the inexplicable pull she felt toward Aurelia. The mermaid's expression softened as she turned back to Lily. "Don't fret over him, my dear. He's unharmed, merely stunned. Now come. There's so much I have to show you. So much you need to learn about your true heritage." She extended a hand, her golden scales glittering invitingly. Lily found herself stepping forward, her foot touching the water's edge. "Lily, no!" Thomas had struggled to his feet, coughing and sputtering. "Think of your mother." The mention of her mother snapped Lily out of her trance. She stumbled backward, shaking her head to clear it. "My mother? Yes. I can't. I won't go with you. Where is my father? What have you done with him?" Aurelia's eyes flashed dangerously. "Your father is where he belongs, by my side. And you, my daughter, belong there too. If you won't come willingly, then I'm afraid I'll have to insist." The mermaid lunged forward, her hand closing around Lily's ankle. With a powerful tug, she pulled the girl into the water. Lily barely had time to gasp before she was submerged, dragged down into the cold, dark depths. She struggled, her lungs burning, her vision blurring. Just as she thought she couldn't hold her breath any longer, something strange happened. The pearl at her throat grew warm, then hot. A bright light emanated from it, surrounding Lily in a protective bubble. Suddenly, she could breathe again. More than that, she could move through the water with ease, as if she'd been born to it. Aurelia, still gripping Lily's ankle, looked shocked. "Impossible," she muttered. "Unless..." They burst through into a vast underwater cavern, lit by an ethereal blue glow. Lily gasped at the sight. Intricate structures of coral and crystal stretched as far as she could see, forming a submerged city of otherworldly beauty. In the center of it all was a raised platform of smooth stone. And there, bound by shimmering chains of water, was a man Lily had only ever seen in her dreams and in her mother's faded photographs. "Father," she whispered. Jack's head snapped up at the sound of her voice. His eyes, so like Lily's own, widened in disbelief and then filled with tears. "Lily," he croaked, his voice rusty from disuse. "My God, is it really you?"
Write the word "continue" in the comment section if you want the next part, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching. Kindly click the subscribe button, like, comment, and share this video. Watch out for more intriguing and eye-catching videos from your favorite YouTube channel.